Good morning. It's Jeannie and Tim.
Morning.
And Tim is recently back from a conference in Vegas.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
How
Security
cool
conference.
is that?
Yeah.
That is cool.
It is very
Security
cool.
conference
Yep.
after we had that big security faux pas.
Yep.
That's last year, right?
Yep.
But before we dive in, go to our website, dstech.net, sign up for our newsletter so that you can hear all the latest on security this, security that, and all kinds of things to help you with your productivity, blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that later. I also have something free for you. So what was your conference about? You told me the name of it, and I was like, what's that?
So the conference was called Right of Boom. It was 2024. It was the third year that this conference has gone on. Just like there's all these different tech conferences you may hear of in different places. This one was kind of unique in the sense that it was what they called vendor agnostic, where a lot of times these security conferences might be sponsored or put in part by a certain vendor, a certain security tool that's kind of putting on the event on. So yeah, it's for everyone to educate, but there's a lot of kind of potential sales, sided with that, where this was truly, they call vendor agnostic. So you'd have everyone from every security space in there, all working together because it's a team effort. We're all in the security together, and not fighting. So it was kind of a neat experience with that, as well as if they had call it one track where everyone was attending the same speeches and things, and it was all unique content never heard before, which is good. A lot of these conferences, if you go to them a lot, you may hear like the same speech from the same guy from a different conference. This was all new, genuine, new content. And this year they did different, what they call tracks, where last year apparently they had 10 technical tracks. And there's a lot of CEOs and owners that are looking at going to try to also just get an idea of what the security landscape's at too. It's not just all tech nerds. It's kind of a mixture of tech nerds and owners. And so this year they did a technical track and then a business track geared towards owners, talking about risk, talking about more for those owners, not so much technical. And then they would alternate between security and business throughout the course. So that was really kind of neat to get some managerial and business side as well as the tech side to kind of break it up a little bit with that. So
Interesting.
And then with any of the conferences, it's all about, networking, seeing the latest and greatest products out there, maybe meeting some of the people that we work with and building those relationships, maybe finding other companies that are similar and trading, getting some tips and things like that. It's a great knowledge. Learn, you're surrounded by like-minded people, and so it's just, you're kind of in that space. It's very useful, and I kind of got a lot out of it. I guess some of the key takeaways, like with anything, they're talking about AI and security, right? That's going to be a big thing coming down the horn. So it's not just where like people think about AI being used maliciously for say phishing and doing all this other stuff, but as a business, you need to enable your AI properly internally, because you don't want, for example, your new hire all of a sudden being able to ask, give me the salaries of every employee that works here, and all of a sudden it gives it to them, right? You need to be able to tweak that out properly
Because
internally
the AI,
for the permissions and stuff. You don't want to just blanketly turn on the AI and give it all your data. You got to do it
because the
properly.
AI internally does have access to your internal data.
Depending,
what
yeah.
You're saying,
yes,
right?
when you turn it on, like for example with Microsoft's Copilot, you have to do a lot of previewing before you just turn it on, because it's going to follow the permissions. Like if someone in accounting has access to the accounting folder, they're only going to be able to ask it accounting questions, right? And it should only give them the data if they have permissions.
If they have the right security set up in the first place.
As you are
right?
aware of the business, a lot of times people don't save the files in the right location or different things. So you really want to check all the data and permissions before you just kind of turn it on. So that was one little thing, getting AI ready, I guess, for businesses with Microsoft ecosystem will be a big one. And another huge thing is compliance, where before, you could get away with, everyone has local admins, short little passwords, all this other kind of stuff. But the biggest thing is that because the insurance industry, the cybersecurity insurance industry is now kind of creating a better standards, a better driving record for the people they're insuring. It's forcing a lot of businesses to start adhering to these security standards that we like to put in place, but have been kind of falling on deaf ears, or it's like, do we really need to implement this, because is it really going to affect us? It's like, well, now it's kind of unfortunately being mandated through policies and things like that. And that's going to be a big driving where we're trying to catch up a lot of small businesses to get to that security baseline so they can be compliant with their insurance, get the renewals, and still be obviously secure from the hackers. Another huge takeaway that I thought was a very good, especially for the relevance of our local businesses in the area, is a lot of time small businesses think that I'm not a target. There's all these bigger companies out there with all this data. Why are the hackers going to bother with me? Right? That's a very common thing. And what they're finding is that almost more than half the attacks are against small businesses, because what they're doing is they're practicing on the small businesses before they hit the big target. Think of it like a thief. If you're a thief, are you going to go straight to bank robbery? Probably not. You know, you're probably going to try to, practice on a few houses, do things where you work your way up till you finally kind of try to break into a bank. And the hackers are the same thing, where they're practicing on smaller shops, things to see what they can get away with, practicing their skills. And once they're ready, that's when they'll try to go for bigger targets, things like that. So just because you're a small business, you may think I have like 10 employees and 5 computers, who's going after me? But you're like the easy target because you're not typically as secure with as much layers in place. So they're practicing on you guys, maybe not looking at getting a big payout from it, but just honing their skills and then working their way up as they go from there. And that's what they're seeing trending now is, with the small businesses. So, but there's a lot of neat stuff as far as using AI for the defense capabilities. Again, having all the vendors come together in this vendor agnostic thing was pretty cool to see, because a lot of times when you go to these events, the first 45 minutes may be them talking about a security problem, and the last 15 minutes is them telling you about their product and how awesome it is and how it's going to fix your security problem. It was an hour of just, here's information, take it what you will. You know what I mean? It was very knowledgeable. It was very, again, agnostic, and I did enjoy the fact that it was like that, and then the single track, and just all the cool people that were there.
And then he brings it back to us so that we can use it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I got, all my notes I'll take up to management and talk about the latest and greatest things with anything with DS Tech. We're good at, we like to try to, we use things internally on ourselves first. There's a new product on the market. Let's test it out on ours, see how it works. If it fills a role or we could use it, then we'll obviously start offering it to clients. We test it ourselves first before we give it to you guys. So I definitely have some fun things to test out from this event, and we'll kind of go from there.
If you honed it down to one thing, that the biggest takeaway that you had, what would be the biggest?
And that's just from, I guess, I don't know, it's hard to say like a huge, the biggest takeaway, but the biggest thing they're trying to instill in all of these organizations, whether you're a 10-person organization or high, is to make sure that you have a very good incident response plan. Like if you came into work tomorrow and your screen said you have been ransomware, give us $1 million in Bitcoin, do you know who you would call first? If you don't know the answer to that question, then you need to come up with a plan in place. It's like having a fire escape plan for your kids. It's like, hopefully your house will never burn down. You're never going to have to use this plan. But in the case of a plan, you want to let them know what to do in the event, because emotions are crazy and things like that. So, usually the first call is to upper management. Second call is usually to your lawyers, and third call is to the insurance. Usually that's kind of the order. And then there's also other things scoped in there, and there's other things within that. But having a good incident plan in place so you can do it properly and do the right channels without getting you in trouble. You're not just unplugging computers and trying to shut it down before you're calling people and doing things like that. It can really actually make it hard for us to try to restore if you don't do the plan properly. So Right of Boom, the name of it itself is, Boom is an event, a security event. So there's what they call left
Does it
of.
stand for something?
Yep. So you just boom, like an event, like a bomb goes off. So
Yeah.
it's like
Boom.
the detonation of the ransomware on your network is kind of like the boom. And so there's what they call left of boom, which is the preventative parts. You're having all this to prevent it from happening in the first place. And Right of Boom focuses on how to recover after post incident. So the proper ways of how do you best handle it? How do you get their systems up quickly? Who do you contact? And how do you do that properly while keeping all the logging? And then how do you interface with your customers properly? Because obviously you need to notify the public if you have a data breach. There could be federal requirements if you're dealing with personal data. There's so much that goes into a security incident, and so they really kind of covered a lot of those different aspects and how to kind of create an incident plan with your clients for that, so that way in the event something does happen, you're able to kind of recover quickly and get them out of the weeds more efficiently.
So the whole thing was pre-boom, boom, and after.
And this one's called Right of Boom, so it typically focuses on security events, how to recover, and things like that. But they also talk about a little bit of both too, but that's the general idea. I didn't even know what it, I should have done a little due diligence going in to see what it was, but I learned that at the conference too. That's what the whole point of Right of Boom is how to recover from post-incident and recovery and stuff. So.
Well, awesome. I'm excited to hear more.
Yeah.
If you have questions, drop them below this video and go to our website for your free security assessment. Just fill in the form and we'll get in touch with you and schedule it. So
yep, security assessments are your left of boom. You're preventing the
yes,
boom. So,
yeah, you're getting ready, right?
Yes, you're preventing it and
that's
taking
the first
proactive
step.
approaches. Yes, exactly. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, and we'll see you next time.